the stage and I call her by her first name. Try to stay away, but I always meet her back at this place. She gives me everything, I feel no pain. I break down, get up, do it all again, because it's never enough. And she makes me feel loved, and I can come here and scream as loud as I want.
Live for the World Cafe, Florence and the Machine, the title track from her new album, Everybody Scream. I'm Raina Douris, and Florence Welch is my guest today. Welcome to the World Cafe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here. That is the title track, and it kind of feels like almost like a mission statement for the entire album. But I know you didn't write Everybody Scream till late in the process. You had the title, I think.
Well, so the title was one of the first things that came.
Yeah.
It basically came from really wanting something that rhymed with Florence and the Machine. Yeah. I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if you had an album title that also rhymed with Florence and the Machine, that was also the title track? Like, it literally came from wanting to write like a single that rhymed with Florence and the Machine, because I just thought that would be cool.
Yeah. And I mean, screaming is kind of all over the album, either in the lyrics or like literally like wails and
yes, screams. I think it's almost, as a lyric, it's almost in every song.
Yeah.
Really.
Why do you think that was something that kept coming back?
I think I just like, I think I felt like I had this silent scream inside me as I was making it. And it was just a way to process that feeling. You know, I had this sort of like silent screaming going on inside me all the time. And so it was like a way to like let it out.
Yeah.
You know, but in a way that like was freed me from it.
Sure.
Know?
Well,
like,
screaming is cathartic. And it can come from a place of agony, but it can also, and I think in that song, you kind of feel it can be unifying.
Yes, I wanted to change. So I thought about Everybody Scream as like this, everybody scream, right. You know, like it's very like, has a lot of bravado in it and like joy almost. And I was like, what if you inverted that into just a scream of like feminine fury and frustration? And when you're like, everybody scream, it was just like,
Yeah, it feels like it comes from a really like deep and primal place.
Yes, it is. It was like, it felt like, I don't know. I think when you go through like a traumatic event, it's not necessarily loud. You know, I think I went through a traumatic event and actually it was a very silent event. You know, like when something happens to your body, you're just quite like stuck in it and you actually aren't making that much sound. So it was like, I think it was a way of processing that. I also think we are all wandering around like with enormous amount of like collective trauma in a way. You know, the pandemic really wasn't that long ago. And I think we don't talk about it, or we're not like...
Yeah, we didn't really process that.
We have not processed it. I think we haven't processed it. Everyone is just out there trying to live in this kind of like slightly deranged way.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I do feel like I also like ran at life after the pandemic, like ran back into touring, ran back into like life or trying to live and like, yeah, I wanted this sense of that if you were screaming internally, that you could like come to a place and scream externally. You know, I wanted to give that to people as well as myself.
I'm talking to Florence Welch today on World Cafe. In that song, in Everybody Scream, you sing, I get on stage, call her by her first name, tried to stay away, but I always meet her back at this place. She gives me everything. I feel no pain. Who is she? Is that your stage self? Is that the audience, the stage, the performance?
That actually came from a conversation with Mitski. She came to the studio before Everybody Scream was like fully finished. It was in demo form. It was just a list of random commands and shouts, and like there was no chorus. And she really helped kind of construct that song into what it was, you know, helped. And I think we just had to talk about what the song meant. And we had this conversation about the like level of sacrifice it sometimes feels like as a woman that you have to do to keep going in this job, you know, that potentially that your male counterparts don't have to deal with. But within that, she said something really beautiful. She was like, but the intimacy that brings you with it. And like, it is also like a kind of experience, you know, that maybe they will never know. So we're also two people who I think have a really similar attitude to work, which is like, I must do it. Why am I doing it? I must do it. It hurts so much. Which is, again, like a lot of my record is like the brutality of songwriting, what you put yourself through every time you release a record, and yet you always keep coming back.
Yeah. When you go on stage, what does it give you? What is your headspace like?
Well, then I think you're kind of explaining it later in the song. It's like, here I can take up the whole of the sky, unfurling, becoming my full size.
Yeah.
It's that push and pull of like, kind of like the everyday happiness that I think I get from like not being seen, having a quiet life, routine, you know, normality, contentment, and this transcendent experience. You know, eventually I do butt at the edges of a normal life because there's this, you know, I'll start making songs again and I'll be like, oh, there's this huge force inside me that needs to live. Like, I'm not meant for this world.
Right, right.
I'm like bigger than this building. Like, I must be free from the confines of normality. So you're kind of always wrestling with these like parts of yourself. And I think, especially because bigness and hugeness is often not allowed in women, and especially I think off stage, I shrank myself in order to survive, you know, in order to survive the public gaze. Big, like outgoing, gregarious women were often like told they were annoying or ridiculed or like, and I found that to be the case when I was a young woman, and it was really painful. And so I was like, okay, you don't get like this part of me, you know, but the stage was a place where they like, the kind of hugeness of my feelings was kind of celebrated, you know? So I think I always kept going back as a space where, you know, I felt like I could be big, you know.
Yeah.
The world turns. The world turns.
I'm talking to Florence Welch today on World Cafe. Speaking of like unconventional women and women being huge and not being allowed to do that stuff. I know that one thing that you were sort of researching when you worked on this record was witchcraft.
Yeah.
And you went to the Warburg Institute in London. I guess quickly tell us what that is for people who don't know.
So it's one of the biggest, it deals in like occult mysticism and symbolism. It actually has a section of the library that's organized just on esoteric principles. Like it's not alphabetical. It's like all symbolism.
Oh, cool.
It's such a magical place. Weirdly, my mother, when she found out I was there, she was like, it's so sweet because I went there a lot researching my books when I was pregnant with you.
Whoa.
So she's a professor of Renaissance studies.
So you'd been there before.
So I've been there before and I went back and I think the imagination is this form of escape. Mythology is a form of escape. I was looking to find meaning in the experiences that I'd had. I was looking to explore forms of power, and also to like look to other women who'd kind of lived non-traditional. Like women were called witches just for owning a house.
Yeah.
It's just like it was like, it was a sense that if you were living in outside of society, you were a threat, that you were dangerous somehow, that you had something people wanted. And I was thinking about how I have lived in some ways a non-traditional life.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to hear you perform the song Sympathy Magic next. And there is something called sympathetic magic. And it's like when it's the belief basically that you can influence something or someone by using a corresponding object that resembles it, like a voodoo doll.
Yeah.
What is the magical process happening in this song? What is sympathy magic?
So sympathetic magic, it is a sort of like, or it's also, so in medieval times, sympathetic magic, I was also looking back to a period of time where magic was just a much more real part of life, like magic and religion, kind of like a similar thing. Like you would go to a cunning woman for a spell, you would go to your priest for a prayer, but they kind of like, magic was real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was learning about sympathetic magic, which you would go to, someone and you would be like, I like a love spell, or I want to make a connection with this person. And sympathetic magic, I guess it's a form of like having control over someone, but it was also about making connections. So you would like whisper a spell into a piece of baking bread and then give that person. And I was thinking about songs as a kind of sympathetic magic, like I feel like that at the heart of it, songwriting is about making a connection with someone, a feeling like you can be with them or put your arms around them or be part of their world without even being there.
Yeah.
It's also just a mishearing because they said sympathetic magic and I heard it as sympathy magic, and that was, but I also think the only good thing about going through something awful is that you can be there for the other people who went through it too.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking of sympathy in terms of this kind of magic.
Yeah.
Sympathy magic, like that, like you can connect with people. That's the only gift in it, really, is that you can also help someone else feel better.
Here's Sympathy Magic performed live. It's Florence and the Machine on World Cafe.
Memory fails me, names and faces blur. There is only after or before. Am I so different? Have I changed? I do not recognize my face. The scar fades, but pulls inside, tugging at me all the time, chewing on a feeling, spitting it out, crouched in a ball gown, anxious and ashamed, the vague humiliations of fate. I do not find told me that it would. So come on, tear me wide open. A terrible gift, let the chorus console me. Sympathy magic, and the light coming in the window just so, and the wind through my fingers, the only God that I know. And it does not want me on my knees to believe. It had arms wide, aching, 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 and alive, and alive. So I don't have to be worthy. I no longer try to be good. It didn't keep me safe like you told me that it would. So come on, tear me wide open till I'm losing my mind, till I cannot contain it. So come on, I can take it. Give me everything you got. What else? What else? What else? What else? Come on, I can take it. Give me everything you got. What else? What else? What else? What else? So come on, take me. So come on, come
Florence and the Machine performing Sympathy Magic live for World Cafe. My name is Raina Duras, here with Florence Welch. Her new album is called Everybody Scream. We're going to go back to an older song today that you're going to perform for us, one from your debut album, Lungs, from 2009 called Cosmic Love. But first, I want to play a clip of the last song on the new album called And Love.
Oh.
And love was not what I thought it was. It crept up on me despite myself. And it was not a love song, it was something else.
So that's And Love. And those two songs, Cosmic Love and Love, I'm not going to make any assumptions, but in my mind, they feel kind of like counterpoints to each other.
Oh, I didn't.
I mean, you have the harp. Yeah. There's similarities musically, but they're both these meditations on love, 15 years apart, and those thoughts have kind of maybe changed. What does it feel like to revisit that 2009 self of yours on Cosmic Love?
It's so funny now when I think of like the desperation of some of these love songs, and I remember like who they're about from way back then, and I'm like, huh? I'm like, what?
They inspired something at some point.
I know, but then the songs are so good, yeah. And you're like, wait, what? But the weird thing is, whenever you write about someone, you're never really writing about them. You know, you're always like tapping into something slightly like unhealed in yourself. So I think a lot of my love songs have come from a place of like deep desperation and these like empty spaces. You know, like I'm living a transient life. I'm not at home. I'm away from the people I love. It really fosters that I also have never gotten over anything in my entire life.
What do you mean? Like,
well, I'll just like, if I've ever had a crush on someone, I probably still do on some, I can just like, I'll keep everyone like on a little shelf of longing, and I'll be like, okay, today I'll just like
in Kraken,
go
in that
through
song.
that. Yes. I'll just like, okay, I'm just going to like pick that up, and because you're so alone, like it does, I think it's being like highly imaginative, alone a lot of the time. There's a lot of being essentially a very romantic person as well, but like
and the longer you're away from someone, the more you can like build them into
it's much
something.
easier to make songs about people that do not exist. Essentially don't exist, or you met them twice.
Exactly.
Like it's because you can create these whole fantasy landscapes. And so a lot of my songs were almost about like not even a person, but an empty room thinking about a person. Like they're not even there. Because I'm sober, I'm not doing anything. I'm in a room on my own. Like, this is the saddest thing about it. I'm not at the bar, like, meeting people. I'm, like, in a room being, like...
Thinking about love.
Like, I'm not...
And it is also kind of like a very romantic image. Like,
I'm, like, in my room writing poetry about someone I met, like, 3 times. It's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. But basically, like, this... if you think of Cosmic Love, like... you're in a desolate space, like in twilight, you're in this sort of like vast landscape of stars, and it's beautiful, but it is this sense of like not being grounded or on the world, and I do think that fame does that to you. You are shot into space in a way, and then you spend so much time in rooms on your own. So much times in rooms on your own to ruminate, to think about every crush you had ever had, to think about every person you shouldn't text, that like it perpetuates a life of isolation. So I think in some ways, like it just allowed me to really just be like digging at that feeling. So much of the album is about chasing and yearning and longing. And even the songs that are about like ambition or work or all about this like, keep going, keep chasing, did I get it right? Did I get it right? Do I win the prize? Like, do I have to resurrect myself from the dead again and try again? Will it be better next time? Yeah. So this sense of like frustration and desperation, and the end of the record is almost like you have this revelation that love and peace will not come from chasing, that love might be surrendering to what is, surrendering to what's there, surrendering to like someone who really loves you, not in a way that makes you insane.
Yeah.
Like that that maybe love isn't the sick feeling, but is this sense of being held.
Yeah.
And I think I wanted the end to be this like, if the songs have all these prescient forces or their prayers or manifestations, I kind of wanted to put something at the end of the record that has been so desperate in a way, that was like this wish for myself and for everyone, for like the world.
We're going to come back and talk more about the new album, but right now, let's hear your live performance of Cosmic Love. This is Florence and the Machine on World Cafe.
A falling star fell from your heart and landed in my eyes. I screamed aloud as it tore through them, and now it's left me blind. The stars, the moon, they have all been blown out. You left me in the dark. No dawn, no day, I'm always in this twilight, in the shadow of your heart. And in the dark, I can hear your heartbeat. I try to find the sound, but then it stopped, and I was in the darkness. Oh, darkness I became. took the stars from my eyes and then I made a map. I knew that somehow I could find my way back. Then I heard your heart beating. You were in the darkness too. So I stayed in the darkness with you. The stars, the moon, they have all been blown out. You left me in the dark, and no dawn and no day. I'm always in this twilight, in the shadow of your heart. And the stars, the moon, they have all been blown out. You left me in the dark. Oh, and no dawn and no day. I'm always in this twilight, in the shadow of your
Cosmic Love, Florence and the Machine performing that song from her 2009 debut album Lungs for World Cafe. I'm Raina Douras, joined by Florence Welch. It's been 15 years since you released that debut. You were in your early 20s then. You were dealing with fame all of a sudden. You know, you and I are the exact same age.
Oh,
Yeah. We're not old. I'm just going to say that. We're not old. But I mean, aging is something that I think about a lot as a person who's like public facing in an industry like that. And I definitely think about it more than when I was 24.
I think everyone's younger than me now, though. I was like, oh, you're younger than me.
I'm age blind at this point. I can't tell. I'm like, certain people, I'm like, you could be 25, you could be 55. I don't know. But, you know, I think about, you know, getting older in a public facing kind of role more than I did back then. How do you think about it in your career? And is there like a freedom or power that comes with it?
It's a strange sense of that you have to prove yourself all over again. I think you have to prove that like women can still play over 35. You know, like there's a like you're still that people will still want to like look at you. There's this which has good because they do, but that's also good and bad, you know, because I'm like, wait, I'm still out here like I thought this would be done. I thought no one was supposed to want to look at me over 35.
Yeah. Like, it was going to be so easy after that.
I thought it was going to be easy. They're like, we don't want to see that. Like, no, everyone is still like, into it. What? I was told this would be different. So weirdly, it does feel like you have to prove yourself all over again. Yeah. Like there's that sense that like men are allowed to just continue on this trajectory and get older and continue their careers and continue headlining. And you, as a woman, you get sent to the legend stage at 30. You're just like, okay. And there's a sense that like you are given these huge opportunities at very young. And then kind of it's like, but are you allowed to keep going? You know? And so it's interesting you get to a stage where you're like, there has been change, but like, is it also changing for women as they age into the next phase of their career,
Yeah.
And I don't know yet.
That ties in, I think, very nicely to the last song that we're going to hear, which is my favorite song on the album. Maybe my favorite Florence and the Machine song ever. I love this song. It's called One of the Greats. And I guess first, I just want to note, you wrote this, recorded it in just one take.
This is one take. And then it was impossible to produce because of that, because the time signatures are insane. The tuning is insane. Someone texted me being like, I love that key change. I was like, none of this is intentional. Like, it was what kind of, Bowen, who's from the band Idols, was playing this chord, and he just sort of like kept playing this rolling chord, and I was singing from the page. I'd never sang it before, and the song was so long. So what you hear is just us desperately trying to hang on. It's still now when I perform it live, it's terrifying.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
So long. There's no like click. There's no real set time signature there is. So every time I perform it, I'm hanging on for dear life. You're just trying to make it to the end of the song. And we always did mean to re-record it but the first take just had this bursting out feeling that we couldn't ever replicate.
Yeah. I mean, in it, you sing about greatness, the perception of it. Has your definition of greatness changed over time?
I think that song was written in terms of like, will I ever be satisfied with a record? Like, I always had this feeling that like, if there was, if there was like 100 greatest records of all time, that like none of mine would be on there, because they have their women. They have like, they've got like Kate Bush, they've got Joni.
We've got we've made the list. The list is gone.
We've did them. Yeah. And there's a sense that even with all the striving and the enormous amount that you're giving up, huge things you're giving up to keep going, was it worth it? Like, did I get it right? You're just like, oh, will it actually be remembered, or will it? And that's kind of inner perfectionism, and just like, the thing that you wrestle with as an artist, which is like keeping going, but on some level never quite being satisfied. And that just seems to be part of it. It was weirdly when I accepted that that's part of my process, that I actually feel the best I've ever felt about a record, which is this one. And I think the very visceral and intense way that Everybody's Scream came out of me almost guarded me from needing to have ambitions for it further than just having put it out in a very real way that I haven't experienced before. Yeah. And I guess that's kind of real greatness, is to just be able to do the work and let it go. Yeah. Good luck to us all on that one.
I think that's a beautiful place to wrap this up. But,
well, like, we're all insane.
We're all losing our minds.
End interview.
Here is One of the Greats, performed live by Florence and the Machine on World Cafe.
I crawled up from under the earth, broken nails and coughing dirt, spitting out my song so you could sing along. Oh, and with each bedraggled breath, I knew I came back from the dead to show you how it's done. Show you what it takes to conquer and to crucify, to become one of the greats, one of the greats. I kept a scream inside my chest, killed everyone I'd ever kissed, hung them on the wall like trophies, each name a stain upon my lips. I told the truth but could never see it through. You see yourself hung on the wall, but that song is not about you. I wrote down all my fumbling visions, transmitted by television. Got everything I thought I wanted and cried, hung over in a hotel closet. Did I get it right? Do I win the prize? Do you regret bringing me back to life? Arms outstretched back from the dead, streetlights bursting overhead. Arms outstretched back from the dead, streetlights bursting overhead. I did my best, tried to impress my childhood dream made flesh in my dresses and my flowering sadness. So like a woman to profit from her madness, I was only beautiful under the lights, only powerful there. Well, burned out at 36. Why did you dig me up for this? Arms outstretched back from the dead, streetlights bursting overhead. Arms outstretched back from the dead, streetlights bursting overhead. You'll bury me again. You say it's all pretend, that I could never be great, being held up against such male tastes. 'Cause who really gets to be one of the greats, one of the greats? But I've really done it this time. This one is all mine. I'll be up there with the men and the 10, all the women and the 100 greatest records of all time. It must be nice to be a man and make boring music just because you can. Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan. You're my second favorite frontman, and you could have me if you weren't so afraid of me. It's funny how men don't find power very sexy. So this one's for the ladies. Do I drive you crazy? Did I get it right? Did I get it right? Do I win the prize? Do you regret bringing me back to life? Arms outstretched back from the dead, streetlights bursting overhead. Arms outstretched back from the dead, streetlights bursting. Too feminine to function, a pile of bodies and a trail of destruction. I will let the light in, I will let some love in. I will be happy, it will be perfect. I will let the light in, I will let some love in. I will be happy, it will be perfect. I will let the light arms outstretched, street lights bursting. Oh.
Live for World Cafe, Florence and the Machine, one of the greats. It's from the new album, Everybody Scream. Florence Welch has been my guest today. It's been so great having you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. This is so fun.
I'm Rena Duras, back in a moment with more World Cafe.